we've talked a little bit about getting a little bit older in the last hour. 20 years now we've been at this. Bubba's turned 50. I turned 50 next month. And I remember the way you looked at 50. It was different. And as we get older,
50's the new 30, I heard.
It is the new 30. I was, we've talked for years on the program about my dad, Greg's dad, Coach. And he is, as I said in the last hour, we throw around the term one of a kind, and then there's people who truly are one of a kind. And as I said, if you want to know the difference in just throwing it around it being true is look for a cloud of witnesses and how many different people keep saying that same thing over and over. It's some of it I take the blame for. As we were growing up, and I know I thought we grew up normal, but the more I get to know other people, I realize that maybe not all people grew up the same way we did. Greg, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I thought everybody's dad stood in the door frame and said, "Who can try to move me?" And then you went after him and he knocked you down like you were nothing. I thought that was normal. I realized that not all dads did that. And
we like to play a little rough.
Yeah, and to be put in various submission holds and so.
What about have your son wrestle you and knock you out?
Yeah, see what I mean?
That's where
see how it goes generational? My dad's rule on fighting was just fight outside, not don't fight. So we were so my dad.
We have that same rule here at the studio.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So I was I'd gotten a little older, and I just like a young buck, you want to try to take on the older, mature buck in a kind of a fun way. And I remember, growing up, and my dad coming out to play basketball against us and beating us by 20 points. And of course, I was 6. But and so
he was tough in the paint.
Oh gosh, he was awful. So
rough you up a little bit.
Yeah. Play football.
Bill Lambier.
Play football. He'd form tackle you to the ground. And so. I was getting a little older.
Don't forget about the knee boxing. Boxing gloves.
He would get on his knees with boxing gloves and boxes, and we would be little. We'd come in. He'd jab us. Hey, you got to watch that jab. So anyway,
them gloves led to a lot of problems
right,
in our house.
Right, and his
nasal,
his toughness, his physical toughness, really it doesn't border. It crosses over into the insane. Okay, and he's no one's ever been hurt. No one's ever been sick. And neither has he. So so one of the things that we began to notice is when he was I guess I was probably Greg 14, 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And he came up the hall and was going to come into the den, and he was wanting to see something that was on TV. Of course and I didn't know that. And I thought, I'm going to break down and I'm going to form tackle him.
He's going to love it.
Clearly, you was going to move him out the door.
Yeah.
Finally going to get him.
I saw him coming to the door frame. I said, today's the day.
You were the little cub that was hunkering down behind the bush.
Right. Of course, I wish I'd known he was cleaning his ears with a Q-tip. And he punctured his eardrum when I drilled him.
Yeah, that started this whole hearing thing.
Right. And so
that's why you were helping yesterday.
Yeah,
you felt bad about it.
I did. That was unfortunate.
Been a few years since then. He finally made up for it.
Right. So anyway, so with a lot of guys and whatever, Dad's hearing, of course, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that I've never in my life ever seen him use any sort of ear protection, and he's probably shot a gun a gillion times of various calibers and gauges. So his hearing had started to deteriorate, and of course I made the mistake of suggesting that maybe he have that looked at and maybe look at some of the technology that could help. Of course, that I was told that was not necessary. And so of course,
funny he heard when you said that.
Right. Well, and of course now it didn't help when one of his friends, who must not realize that the technology has come a long way. I mean, a long way. Okay. And he said, "Well, I've seen so and so, and he's got this big old thing clamped to his ear." And I said, "Dad," I said, "Dad, that's not that. I don't know what. I won't say who it was. I don't know what this man's wearing. He's wearing something from like the '60s." I said, "This."
Ricky had a horn. He was sticking in his ear.
And I said, "Dad, that's not what." So we're fortunate enough to. We have one of our new sponsors locally, Beltone, and they've got locations everywhere. And they told me something that concerned me. They were saying, look, it's beyond, hey, whether he can function or whatever. We're getting more and more research that is showing, and we're doing a commercial about it now. As your parents get older, this also can accelerate, memory loss and dementia and things like that, because if parts of your brain are never worked out,
it isolates them if they can't hear.
And they're not firing, then it's going to escalate the aging process as far as the mind is concerned. And at that point, I said, ooh, well, now that. So I said, look, this is a pretty big deal. I said, why don't you come down? They're going to touch. And I said, you won't believe the technology, okay? So then that
I wish I could have heard that.
Well, that didn't work. So what I did is I got my mom and told her about the new studies. And once she heard that, she said, well, you're just being ridiculous. And then she hits him with it's not about you, it's about me. It's about your family. So that always
did he come?
Would you like to go to a school play you can actually hear?
Right.
Did she agree to let one more deer head go up? And then that's
funny you said that. Funny you said that. So we now think about all the things. If you're someone who works with Beltone, think about all the things that you're talking to someone who might be fitted with the latest technology to help with their hearing, all the things they might want to discuss. The only thing he wanted to discuss was hunting. Now, look, let's say I'm out there in the woods and I have to go through some branches and it knocks it out of my ear. Now, what about that? And you could tell the person's like, well, I've never been asked that before.
Does he get a lot of branches in his ear?
Now, hey, when I go to shoot, now what I do then? I mean, that's all he told me. I mean, it's as if the only thing you ever encounter, if you have to have any sort of hearing aid, is hunting. There are no other scenarios in life that involve it at all. So,
But he gave that same speech when they told him he had to have heart surgery 10 years ago.
Right.
Same speech.
Well, now I want you to hunt and fish a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You can still do that. Well, of course, and you'll love this, Bubba. They told him the technology. Now, this is where it got great. If you have an iPhone, Coach Burgess, what?
Oh boy!
You mean that flip phone he's got ain't gonna work?
I got my flip phone. That's what I like. Well, okay.
Text and cap.
Well, these are iPhone ready, meaning you can make your adjustments with your iPhone.
Yeah, you can change the hearing settings to filter out, like if you're in a restaurant and you don't want to hear all that.
Hey,
don't even bring that up.
If they get knocked out, Coach, it'll tell you where it is.
Yeah, it'll find it. It'll find it.
It's got GPS.
Now that's pretty good.
Okay. Well, you can put it on my wife's phone. She'll tell me where it is. Like that. And Coach, you don't want? Are you eligible for an iPhone? Well, when you're eligible for upgrade, my mom. He's been eligible for years. He just won't do it. Like that. No. I like my phone just like I want it just like it is.
It's a flip phone.
And I said, Dad, you got a flip phone. That's right. Does it work? And then he kept going, there's things this phone will do, iPhone won't even do.
Like what?
Dad, could you give me one thing?
Flip?
Huh? Flip? And no. And she
text
goes,
in capital letters?
Greg, now think about this now. She says, so, Coach, I'm going to have to get a Blu-ray attachment for this phone for some of the features, or you could just upgrade to an iPhone. No. Just give me how about this? Let's not even fool with that. Just set her phone up on it. If I lose it, she'll tell me where it is while you're in the woods. Or something like that. Visiting yesterday, took Dad and Mom to Beltone, and for Dad to be considered and fitted with the latest technology to help with hearing. His hearing has gotten worse over the years, even though he would not acknowledge that. I want to thank Rachel, who was probably she has the patience of Job, and great young lady that helped us out yesterday, Dr. Michelle Hames, also there, who set up the appointment for us. And the technology is incredible. And I'm telling you, if your parents are in the same situation, you need to see what's available now. I mean, it can be life changing. So we've gone through this, and again, Rachel is talking to Dad, trying to take him through the normal process that you need to go through to understand the technology, to adapt to the technology. But all he wants to ask her is, how's this going to affect hunting? And she's like, well, it shouldn't. You would think my dad walks through branches, like all the time, and stuff's getting knocked out of his ear. The many times So anyway, and so then we talk about the shooting. She goes, I'm gonna go ahead and get out on a limb, step out on a limb here. You don't use ear protection, do you? He goes, no. And she says, well, all right, there's a mute button, and you need to mute the hearing aids when you shoot, and that'll act as the best we can.
Yeah.
And now it will automatically cut out some of the noise and all that. The technology is incredible what they have now. So then she starts trying to go through this, and so he says, so I mean, this is going to help me hear better. She says, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. He says, now let me ask you this. You talk about a mute button. What if I decide I don't want to hear?
Huh?
Can I just hit the mute button? And then Mom turns around and she goes, well, don't tell him that. And she goes, I'm already convinced he has selective hearing. And
I was going to ask because I know that your dad probably gets out of a lot of things around the house because he can't hear.
Right.
But now he's going to kind of lose that excuse.
You can see the wheels turning on that one.
Yeah.
And it does have a mute button.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, now this is now let me tell you, and Rachel listens to the show, okay? She said this without any prompting from me, zero prompting, okay? First of all, she has to go through the hearing test with him, and that was interesting to watch her try to get him to do what she would like for him to do and why. She looks at me, I kid you not, no prompting whatsoever. She said, you know who he reminds me of? And I said, go ahead and say it. She goes, your brother.
What?
Mm-hmm.
She said, this is like dealing with your brother in here. They sound exactly alike. Their commentary, their attitude, I said, oh, yeah. I
Mannerisms,
said,
everything.
Yeah. And I didn't say that at all. She said that on her own. And of course, we all agreed. So anyway.
So you're saying that a younger version of your dad works here?
Correct.
Okay.
And
Greg?
my dad might as well work here. Okay. So anyway, he sits down, and you know you can't even see them the way they are now. We have to go through the process for him to learn how to use them. Now his fingers are gigantic. Okay. And she admitted, I don't think we've ever seen hands and fingers this large trying to put these in the ear. Mom, so that we work through that.
Is that where Greg gets the claw from?
Right. So anyway, so she says, this is classic right here. Mr. Burgess, can you hear me? Yeah, I hear you great. She said, now I've given you this is going to be called setting 1, which is where we have now achieved what you need to be able to hear. They have to adjust everybody based on what their situation is. Now, this is going to be uncomfortable for you. Your voice sound funny? Yeah, it sounds kind of echoey. Right, that's normal. So I have setting 2 for you to kind of ramp your way to setting 1. Well, where do you want me to be, setting 1 or setting 2? And she goes, well, we want for you to get the maximum effectiveness of this technology to be able to get accustomed to the 1 setting. Well, just put it on 1 then. Well, yes, sir, but I mean, doesn't it sound strange to you? Yeah, it sounds strange. But isn't this where I'm supposed to be? And I just started looking at it like, you just need to let him be on 1.
Yeah, give him 1, let him go.
Yeah. But you have an option of 2 if that's uncomfortable for you or sounds strange
to work.
Now, how do you adjust that, Rick?
It's just he has a little remote and it's a 1 and a 2. I mean that's it. And
it's not on his iPhone.
Well, I was going to say he didn't have to get your mom's iPhone.
iPhone's out.
Did he not like 2 better? Did he try 2?
Yes, and she goes, yeah, 2. She goes, yeah, 2's probably a little more. It's not as big a step up for you. But I mean, where do you want me to be? I would like for you to eventually get how long? Normally over a month or 2, the 1 setting becomes normal for them. Well, just leave it on 1 then.
Right.
And I'm like, Dad, but does it not sound echoey to you? Yeah, it's echoey, but I mean, I can hear. Isn't that why we're here? And I'm like, yes, sir. But I mean, you have an option to go to 2 and work to 1. Where do you want me to be, though? Listen to what she's saying. Well, we want you to get to where 1 is your setting. Well, just leave it on 1. And you know how? Here's the compromise. What if I call 2, Mr. Burgess, restaurant setting? You're in Cracker Barrel. A lot of noise in there, a lot of background noise. People are loud. And you're probably going to like 2 better in there because then it's just a conversation at the table. It'll take all this background noise out.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can. Yeah, if for restaurants, that's then I put name that restaurant.
Rick.
And they named it restaurant setting. He didn't want to call 2.
Right.
You know, it just so that's available to him.
Yeah.
But only and what. So we go out to the parking lot.
Yeah, roll that high end off where all those forks and plates.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the technology,
I like it.
I can't, y'all. What I witnessed, the technology's unbelievable. I couldn't believe how quickly, how it's all sitting there. They would adjust based on what he was doing. They come out of a test and they uniquely start fitting it to you and the way it needs to work for you. It was amazing.
It's not the bionic man, but you can see we're one step away. I mean, it's real close.
Well, and on a serious note, it really was. I mean, I looked at Mom. I said, "You realize that's life changing right there."
Now, is he going?
I mean, he is now engaged back.
Look at the eyes. Look at the eyes here. Look at the face.
A lot of stuff he's got to deal with.
Well, Greg, they simplified it a lot.
Because you know how he is.
I know. Well, here's what we're down to. He has a remote that he doesn't have to use if he didn't want to.
Okay.
And of course, now keep in mind, Greg, to him, if he's going to stay on one, he doesn't do anything. I mean, there's a process of coming back for a few weeks for them dialing in. But guys, I could not believe how he walked out the door, and I mean we're talking across the parking lot, and I mean
that's got to be
it's
wow.
Unbelievable.
He can actually hear deer walking the trail coming to his.
Have you talked to him
now.
today?
Well, Greg, he said, "How do you turn the volume up or down?" And she showed him that. And he goes, "Well, when I'm out there in the woods, I'm gonna crank it up." And I'm like,
I love game ears. Which is saying,
I said, Dad,
Dad,
we didn't come to Beltone for you to get a game ear.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We can go
get
get that over at the outdoor store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Dad, this is everyday life changing stuff.
So does he
here.
have a setting for hunting now? Turns it on up.
He goes to one and cranks it.
Wait till I see him this weekend. I'm gonna get way behind him and say stuff, see if he can hear.
Yeah. Well, I of course I'll start doing that. I mean, this is a life-changing moment. I mean, to the point you could get misty-eyed, and I'm over there turning around going, "Hey, Coach." He's going, "What are you doing?"
Of course, he's gonna. His advantage was he'd act like a lot of times he really didn't hear.
That's
what
Bubba's talking about.
No, he does that.
Well, he asked us to have a mute button, and it does.
Yeah.
Don't think he won't use it. We'll be back. So thanks to everybody yesterday. That was awesome. We'll be back bottom of the hour. More Rick and Bubba next.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.